Hi, my name is ep2, and this is Beyond the Cubicle podcast. And on today's episode, we have a very special guest. We always have special guests, but this one is very special. He's a strategic HR leader. Like, he's a leader in strategic HR departments. Welcome, Mr. Gbenga Totoyi. I hope I did not...
that works.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, you're someone that is very passionate about people.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to people in the workplace.
Exactly.
What was that aha moment that you had that made you believe that this is something you can pursue as a business venture?
Oh, thanks. I get that a lot, and I think in recent weeks I've been getting that question a lot from old friends and new friends. There's a connection to my childhood. So my dad was always explaining something. He was always drawing something. And I found myself to be that young kid who, in the midst of the plays and a lot of that, I was that guy that was always trying to create the next game or trying to suggest what else we could do, with the boys in the hood. But fast forward, I think the real aha moment for me started when I found out that I love to train. I love to simplify complex things. And so I changed my secondary school, and when I got to a new one, like what's called in ep2, I was sort of like ahead of the class. And so teachers would come to class, and I remember a particular teacher that taught us agric science. She would just write the topic and say anyone should say anything they know about it. And I noticed that the guys in the class were like, "You've not taught us anything. Why are you asking us to say something about it?" So I would raise my hand and I would say a few things. Fast forward, the class teacher at the time said that it would make me the assistant class teacher as against the class captain.
Wow. And
so I would always come forward after the maths class and I will explain. And this was a kick for me. So imagine someone that has been taught for about an hour or so, or an hour 30 minutes. I'll come to class and I would okay, if these guys didn't get it in 90 minutes, what can I say in 5 minutes and they would get it? And I would say a few things and I would just hear a scream at the back of the class. Aha, now I get it. Is this what this teacher has been struggling with for over an hour? And that gave me a kick, and I would do it again and again. And all through secondary school, I was just that guy that would explain things. Fast forward, I saw the connection between what you traditionally call training in HR to other elements in HR, and I saw the money in it, and yeah.
So it's the money.
Yeah, you just noticed I was trying to explain something and I was taking a bit of time because I just wanted to simplify it till someone really gets it. And then two, I saw the money. I saw the business of ignorance. I saw how that many organizations had people issues, and I had solutions to them. And way back, I saw that there was going to be a limitation to what I could do with what I know as an employee. But if I make it a business, I would do a lot better. And so 8 years ago was the second aha moment where I felt in my future, HR will be more of a service I render than a job I'm doing. That was when I created Alan Grant.
So you've always been like a natural teacher.
Yeah.
From straight out of the womb, like you were.
Nah, not straight out of the womb.
You were giving.
But I was always trying to explain things. I was always trying to explain myself. And that put me in a lot of trouble when I was younger because I was always asking questions.
Oh.
And so a few older people around me are like, why? This is none of your concern.
They talk.
Yeah, do you understand? But it was because I was always trying to understand things, right? And so when older folks weren't answering me, that pushed me to books very early.
Like right? How old?
12, 13.
Okay.
I really started kicking to books like 12, 13.
What kind of books? Like
I read newspapers, I read magazines. My brother, I had two brothers that were novel freaks. One of them was a John Grisham fan. My other brother was a James Hadley Chase person. And so I always made them talk about it. But the problem was I struggled reading those magazines, those books, those novels rather. But I took to business magazines pretty early.
Oh, wow.
And that was it for me.
Nice. I know you mentioned Allen and Grant.
Yeah.
And my first interaction with Allen and Grant was at a leadership training.
Yeah.
And
I had fun at that.
We accomplished a whole lot that day.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had my own aha moment there too as well.
Thanks. Yeah.
And I wanted to just find out the mind behind the machine, that is you and your people. So what inspired you to decide to start up a business like Allen and Grant?
Yeah, through my journey. So I also always tell employees, because sometimes when I talk, it sounds as if people should never be employees. I'm not one of those people who talk down employees and make it look like a slavery thing. It's a good thing to have a job and have it for a while. Not all of us will be employees. Trust me, we will be employers rather, employers of labor. It's a lot to start, build, and scale a successful business, to be honest, right? But the thing about being an employee is that it's some sort of like a school. So I remember working at Workforce Group.
Okay.
That was where I was taught the business of HR, not just the practice. I saw the business a bit more up close and personal. And I think that was where I caught the bug. Like, there's money in this thing. I can do it, right? And from that point, it was clear I was going to try to do something about it. I tried a few partnerships. I started a few of my friends that had started the business. I would go to class with them. I would ask them questions, and they would look back at me and say, "Guy, you can do this thing." Right? I was like, "Nah, I'm not built for the hustle." But I think when it hit me from different comments from people to say, "See, you know how to do this thing.
Try it."
Yeah, try it. And so weekends, I would go to class. I would take a few sessions. I started doing a lot of things for free for people. But it was when I joined Workforce, I knew, I'm going to do this business. And then 8 years ago, after a few failed projects, I felt this is the way I would do it, which you're aware of. I would continue in paid employment, but I would start, build, and scale a practice that will operate independent of me, such that I can manage the risk, and perhaps 10 years or so down the line, I wouldn't leave paid employment and have to go start from scratch. I will have built something alongside that I can just, in quote, retire into. And I'm so happy I made that decision. So one is the impact. Two is the self-expression that comes with it. I love people development. I love it. And I know the money behind it.
Yeah. So when preparing for this interview, I came across a quote that really resonated with me, and it goes along the lines of like organizations, they shouldn't rely on strategy, rather they should rely on the people.
True.
Right? And the article also mentioned that there is like this awakening that organizations are starting to, their eyes are opening basically, right? They're seeing the lights, okay? And they're realizing that most of the time, historically, HR, they're not involved in any strategic decisions. And to be honest, these are the people that are holding your prized possessions, like your people, people making your money. So my first question is, why the awakening, all of a sudden, this awakening? And what has been your experience so far, like guiding organizations to, shine your eye to see the light? There is value in strategic HR.
I would honestly recommend the book, the 2020 Workplace, the 2020 Workplace.
Okay.
That book was first released in 2010, right? But the research took about 2-3 years. So if you do the numbers, some guys got together 2007 to think of what would happen to the workplace for, year 2020. And they released the first edition of the book in 2010. And guess what? They wrote 10 predictions about the workplace in 2020, and then they gave an extra 5. Guess what the third one was? Just guess.
I'm not good at guessing.
Okay, they said there would be
hybrid,
a worldwide pandemic.
Oh, really?
I'm not joking.
They predicted COVID.
They didn't call it COVID.
Witchcraft.
Yeah, kinda. But they said that there would be a pandemic that would accelerate the development in the workplace. That's one. Before that, my very first big aha moment around this whole workplace, the changing future of work and all of that, would be far back 2012.
Okay.
I stumbled on an article titled Top 70 Paying Jobs, the year 2030. Right? So, 2012, 2030, top 70 paying jobs. So I saw money, I saw time. I was like, and then something quite intriguing. So I read it at the time. Clearly, about 70% of the jobs listed then didn't even exist. A chunk of them were tech related, things about the moon, things about art, code development and stuff like that. So those two things, are things I readily refer to. But the point is, fast forward, different businesses haven't tried several things. Failed at people, failed at technology, failed at raising money. Really started seeing the benefit, because we started seeing successes with other businesses, and they were readily referring to the people. Oh, if I didn't get it right with people, I would have been wrong. Oh, I'm happy I had a co-founder. And so a few businesses started trying it out and allowing and trusting in the place of people. I felt a few other businesses, and we had some in Nigeria, so the likes of Nestle, back in the day, and I think till now, you can't be MD if you have not run the HR department.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Over a 2-3 year period, you will have to lead the HR department. You will have to go outside of Nigeria to lead another subsidiary before you can become the MD of Nigeria. The likes of Mr. Bomioni, that was what he passed through. So we started having top executives who were running businesses but had run the HR department before. Right? And then 3, it was a bit of a struggle, I'll be honest. We started having sound HR people. Sound. More strategic HR people who could talk business, who didn't start out in HR, who were perhaps in finance, in tech, in sales, and then got moved to HR, and then they loved it. So it became a situation where right on the table, the highest level of leadership of any business, you had people who could talk about people issues, but from a business standpoint.
Perspective.
Yeah, because I always told people HR was primarily about the business, but secondarily about the people. If you make HR issues a people thing, you will come to business table and you'll be pushed back. But if you come and you can connect increase in revenue to some people development initiative, then they'll listen to you. If you can come and say, hey, people are our greatest assets, but come to think of it, if you look at our cost of operating expense, this is usually about 70% to the overall percentage of the revenue. About 40-50% of that is on people cost.
Yes.
So if you look at your entire cost as a business, usually about 50% of it goes into people. Then you have to pay attention to that. So a lot of that has been happening, but the biggest bang we've had in the last few years was COVID. COVID accelerated the good and the bad around businesses around the world. It gave us an almighty pause. And so you didn't trust me before, right, as my boss. But then we went through 2 years where you couldn't even see me. And I still got things done. Or I further messed up your life. Right? Yeah. I either stole your money more or I preserved your money more. So all of a sudden, all that put together, look, because a lot of us have forgotten about COVID-19 right? For 2 years. And if you look around, it's been difficult to go back to what was pre-COVID workplace. It's difficult. The worker is younger. The workplace is more diverse. Hybrid has come to stay. So you can't go back to pre-COVID years. So there's a lot more trusting. HR folks have gotten better. It was a problem before, I'll be honest, because they couldn't present that value to senior management. But now HR folks are in ESCO. HR folks understand numbers. HR folks can tie business success or failure to people. We saw people create products for organizations, and people made a lot of money with it. So all that came together and started really changing the look and feel of HR, and more organizations are beginning to take the bet on people, and they're seeing the results, right?
Nice. Yeah. So what's the difference between traditional HR and strategic
I'm sure you've
HR.
heard of the almighty hire and fire.
Yeah.
Right? That was HR before. I just hire you and fire you. And the workplace then, that was how it was. We were largely production factories or outfits. So you could come to the gates and you have tons of people waiting, and you're that powerful HR person. You come
here.
Come here, and that's why we also had a lot of issues around, the workplace, because HR posts are just really powerful, controlling people.
Toxic.
And but the workplace has changed. And traditionally, HR would just be about the work, was not futuristic in any way, was not about developing the people or the talents they had, didn't need technology. But all that is in the past now. If HR is strategic, it's thinking of the future, it's thinking 5-10 years, it's thinking... I got a call this week, for instance. An organization is asking us to come and work with them to, one, the organization is developing a 20-year strategy. But they now said HR should go develop a 20-year strategy to match that as well.
Okay.
I'm just so excited about that. How this organization will be 20 years from now, from an HR standpoint.
Yeah.
So it's long-term in nature, it's dynamic, it's value-adding, it's using technology, it's believing in people. Because, see, HR is the work, but the essence of the work is people development. Do you understand?
Yeah.
It's about people, not really the work we do around people, like hiring, performance management, and the rest of it. So if you place value on people, then you see how strategic you have to be.
That's so true. I think I've experienced strategic HR recent, and I'm like, wow, this really makes more sense.
Yeah.
People are not so scared of HR. Like,
Shouldn't
HR
be.
is coming this way, you're walking the other way.
Shouldn't be.
Why?
Shouldn't
And
be.
I think, unfortunately, before pre-COVID, that was the case with many organizations.
We didn't know better.
And unfortunately, some organizations today, I don't know why some are still stubborn, don't want to hear word, but some organizations, they still adopt that mode of traditional HR.
Some people haven't made it easy. Some employees haven't made it easy, I'll be honest. We still have employees who try to play the employer. We still have the employee who take work from home to be off days. Right? We still have employees who wouldn't just deliver value. Right? But I ask you a question. Imagine I come to you as your head of HR and I say, Ebon, where would you really want to be 5 years from now? What are your aspirations? What do you want to do? We see you wanting to start a podcast channel.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? What are you trying to get on? And we use that. One, you trust that what you shared with us is confidential.
Yes.
And then we come back to you with a plan on how the organization
can help you achieve that.
That really is the crux of employee engagement. That point where your employee aspirations can be linked with corporate aspirations, and it's possible. Trust me, it's possible.
And it's not seen as a threat, because some people, if they're not being strategic about it, they might be, this person, you want to go and start your own business. Like, who are you? Like, why would you want to step out from what you're currently doing in this organization? So people might see that as a threat and wouldn't want to.
Let's say that works.
Yeah.
Right? But compare that to, and I'll get maybe say 30% of you in the organization while you're there, because you will start that business, you start that hustle anyway.
Yeah, of course,
and
definitely.
hide it from me.
Yeah.
Compared to, I allow you share, and you earn my trust, and you trust that I can use that for your good.
Yeah.
And I come back to you, what level of commitment will I get back from you as an employee?
100% no.
Which is better?
This one. Good. You have experience with leading HR in both non-profits and in the corporate scene.
Yeah.
And I'm sure both are totally different. So first of all, tell me your experiences in both departments, and how have you been able to balance leading and developing people?
Again, this work is about people development. So wherever we work or what sectors we operate in, as long as we have people, the approach should be the same. Right? So what differs though is the focus of the organization. In a typical not-for-profit, we are more impact or purpose driven. Our strategy is linked to perhaps a sustainable development goal. That's what is driving us. And so the makeup or the strategy of the organization is pro that. But if you are in a for-profit, not that you are against all of that, but it's not your primary focus.
Yeah.
You want to make profit, and you believe that as long as I pay your salaries, you can then go save the world, right? So the focus is different. So to be honest, that's the essential difference between both. So if you're in a for-profit, the strategy can be a lot more bullish because you have to actually generate revenue from which you make income from and all of that. But if you're in a non-for-profit, you may not be as bullish about the money that you need to run the enterprise because that's not your focus, right? That's essentially the difference. But do these two sectors still need competent, sound people? Yes.
Of course.
And that's what I've seen from working in both sectors. And the interesting thing, though, is there's now some sort of convergence. So you hear more organizations saying we are a purpose-led organization. We are impact-driven in our approach to business. We are conscious of the environment in which we operate. I look at the climate change, for instance. It was for a long time just about save the world, save the planet. But have you seen the direction in recent times? Have you seen the kind of money that's going there? Because all of a sudden, governments and players in that sector went to the money guys, and showed them the business implication of climate change or the green economy. And boom, that was an explosion. Because all of a sudden, you have now involved the guys at Wall Street and everywhere in the world, and there's a connection between the money guys, government, and people wanting to save the world, and that's it. Created a whole new industry.
Yeah. You've mentioned people. That's fine and good. And lots of people, they want to assemble the Avengers to lead their team.
Yeah.
But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's not an easy thing. And before this podcast session, we spoke about one of the arms of Allen and Grant, which is outsourcing people. So what has helped you, first of all, in finding the best fit for the organizations that you service? And how do you advise people like us who are trying to get the best people for our team to this is what you look for in a person that would suit your organization?
So first off, believe that there are great people. I think more and more founders or business owners are losing faith in people.
Can you blame them? Well, can you really blame them?
I wouldn't. I'm in the people business. I've hired some
funny people.
I've had my experiences, but I still believe in people. To make this Nigerian, I still hear a lot of people say, for instance, Nigerian graduates are unemployable. All right. Not so. I still have some very brilliant Gen Zs and millennials that come into the workplace. So that's essential. Let's remove that bias to say there are no good people in the world or in Nigeria. We still have really, really good, brilliant talented people just looking for the opportunity. Two, though, is focused on building people. So depending on your business or the strategy you have, you can go hire ready-made people, right? And you'll need them at a certain point. But let your focus be on the fact that if this is my strategy or this is where I am at the stage of growth, that should determine the kind of people you want. So you're starting out, you don't have the kind of money to hire at a certain level. Make those kind of people your friends and consultants that you can reach out to for freebies. And there are some good people that do that to you. Because if you go higher at that level, you'll crumble, right? So if you know what kind of business you're trying to do and you're starting out early, also have that approach to the way you hire people. So hire people that are willing to learn and grow with you. And so you will know your focus is on just finding open, willing people who would give you time to build, right? But it takes a certain level of skill to merge diversity and competence and some level of character as well in people. But my advice is always on Avengers are built, not necessarily bought. If you want to buy it, it will be pretty expensive.
Yes.
They're built.
You on your profile, you said you're big on coaching.
Yeah.
You love to mentor people.
Yeah.
So you personally, do you have any particular mentor that inspires you on a daily basis?
Yeah. So I usually tell people too that mentorship is about mirroring. And so,
mirroring.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't have to necessarily call you my mentor. I just need to see you and you look like what I want. And as long as I can look at you, look at what you do, And that's where social media has come to be very powerful. There are people that have mentored me that I've never met. Never met.
You've never interacted with
Never interacted. Physically interacted with them. But I've read their books, I've read their profiles online. If they have any social media platform, I've turned on notification. I read anything they put out. What am I doing? I am mirroring where I'm going, right? But in the profession, I've had amazing people over the years. Kamal Aderibigbe, Yemi Fashion, and many other people that have. But like I referred to Workforce Group, for instance, Bolaji Olagunju, the founder of Workforce Group. I spent about a year and a half with him, working for him.
Directly.
And that was huge for me. That was huge. I saw the urgency required to build a business. I saw how that this business, if you don't know your stuff, then you're defrauding people. It taught me that you have to really, you don't have a right to come charge a client for anything if you don't know enough to solve the problem of the client. So it put us under that level of pressure. And that has helped me. Anything that I'm doing today, I saw several people do it, and that's what I believe I can do.
Lovely. Success differs from people to people. What I would consider success might not be what you consider to be successful. So in your career journey so far, what has stood out for that moment you were most proud of?
Oh, I've had several.
But just one moment, just tell us one particular moment.
I would refer to when I joined, when I transitioned from consulting to practice, when I joined Well Bank as the head of learning and development. That was huge for me. It was my very first opportunity to sit in practice, and it was a big project. I mean, I met the MD on day 2, and he said to me, if you succeed on that role, it's up to you. If you fail, it's up to you. But I do not pity you, because this role is huge. I left the bank 2.5 years later, and I still have some commendations written about me that I hold very personal, because it was a big project, and to come as a consultant, the expectation was off the hook. But I think I did a good job. I can walk into another bank till tomorrow. I can go to the executive floor till tomorrow. They still remember my name. They still ask me if I want to come back.
Will you ever go back?
As a
consultant.
They're a client now, so you can imagine how that is. Where I used to work,
I
now work for them as a vendor.
The dynamics change. It was nice having you on the show, Gbenga. Thank you so much.
I had fun.
Thank you so much. And this is the end of this podcast episode. See you soon. Bye.